Assalamu alaikum and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be talking about the misery of Kashmiris and how the world, particularly Australia, can help to bring peace in the region. 70 or 72 days have gone and the world is still watching, monitoring the situation and waiting for any special news. Perhaps waiting for the news that Kashmir is ready for the development and as we have cleared it from Kashmiris. Let me share with you briefly the issue of Kashmir and why the logical voices are needed now more than in the past. You already heard about Kashmir very briefly. Kashmir at the time of independence from British in 1947 was one of the major princely states and was given the right of self-determination by the Indian Independence Act 1947, that is to join to Pakistan, India, or to remain an independent country. That was in the act the British passed. Kashmiris opposed Maharaja's move of joining India and revolted against his decision. In Jammu, his forces, assisted by the Indian troops, murdered thousands of Kashmiris to crush this revolt, and this freedom struggle led to the first war between India and Pakistan, 1947 war. On 1st January 1948, India took the matter to the United Nations and the Security Council passed a resolution. Subsequent resolutions were passed asking both India and Pakistan to withdraw the troops from Kashmir and give the right of self-determination to the people of Kashmir. That is, giving them right to decide what they want to do. These resolutions were, ladies and gentlemen, were not different, very different from those United Nations passed and gave the right of self-determination to East Timorese and South Sudanese. Kashmir, which was already a heavily militarized area on earth, was turned into a giant prison camp when the Article 370 of India's constitution that came in the light of the so-called instrument of accession we heard earlier was revoked on the 5th of August 2019. Since that day, 8 million Kashmiris are barricaded in their homes. Internet connections are cut and phones are dead. According to New York Times article published on 30th September, quote, people can't get to the hospital, they can't communicate with the loved ones, they can't go to school or work. Everyday life has been paralyzed. The Indian security forces have arrested thousands of people. Almost Kashmir's entire class is now behind bars, including 3 former chief ministers. This complete blackout is unprecedented in this day of communication, when there is no information of the well-being of the families and friends, and when there is a total darkness and environment of fear with no end in sight. My fellow Cameroonians, imagine if we are cut from New South Wales for 1 week only, and there are no phones, no schooling, no access to hospitals, no access to basic needs, with only the sound of foreign soldiers on our doors and the fear of arrest and torture. And we're talking here about 72 days. So let's not pretend and believe in the stories that everything is normal. Kashmiris are resting in their homes and we are preparing for a major future development. What a strange argument this is, and what kind of unique development model is it going to be? which requires eliminating or reducing the inhabitants, the local population. The Indian opposition leader, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and others who flew to Srinagar on a fact-finding mission to know about the Kashmiris were immediately sent back to New Delhi. Indeed, a different picture is emerging now across India. If you want to know more about the current situation in India, then listen to what a prominent Indian origin academic, Professor Ashok Sowain of Uppsala University says. And read what another Indian origin professor, Amit Chaudhary at the University of East Anglia, described in his article, "A new India is emerging and is a country ruled by fear," published in the Guardian newspaper on 8th of October, just a few days back. It seems that the new India is determined to crush Kashmiris and make them subservient, so finally they accept its occupation. It also has an ambition of showing lessons to its neighbors, and it is this commitment that has led to a significant increase in its defense spending, according to an article published in the Economist on 28th of March 2018, quote, "India quietly completed a major milestone in 2018 with its annual defense spending of $62 billion, overtaking its former colonial master Britain," unquote. According to some estimates, 1/3 of India's defense spending is due to Kashmir, though it is very difficult to come up with exact estimates of the military spending due to no war, no peace situation in Kashmir. Some guesstimates indicate that India spends close to $1 million a day, and the battle on Siachen Glacier cost around $150,000 a day. And we should not forget the cost in terms of human injuries and casualties, psychological damage and irreversible damage to the local environment in its ecosystems. Both India and Pakistan spend about 3% of their GDP, and spending on defense is about 15% of their total spending. When millions in each country are trapped in extreme poverty, hunger, and lack basic necessities, basic needs. According to United Nations Development Report, more than 20% of the population of Pakistan and India lives on about $1 a day. Across South Asia, those who live just above the poverty line are extremely vulnerable to economic and environmental shocks and natural disasters. Until the 1990s, more than half of the world's poor lived in East Asia and the Pacific. But in 2015, just 6% in East Asia and the Pacific, while South Asia remained home to about 1/3 of the global poor. The region still has global hunger index score of around 30 compared to East and Southeast Asia, where the hunger index is close to 10 or even less. In 2016, about 750 million adults were illiterate, and half of the global illiterate population was sadly in South Asia. According to Rangaranjan Committee, the Indian government formed in 2014, 363 million, or close to 1/3 of India's population, were below the poverty line in 2011-2012. India is close to 200 million undernourished, which means 15% of the population is suffering from hunger, and 3,000 children die every day due to malnutrition. Ladies and gentlemen, the reality is that no country, regardless of its muscular power, can achieve a decisive victory by attacking or crushing another nation in today's world. It will simply be the waste of resources, suffering of humans, and damage to the environment. As the United Nations is right now discovering, after close to 2 decades, with $1 trillion lost and thousands of casualties and injuries in Afghanistan. Australia and other Western countries need to play an active role in bringing peace to the region. Australia, being a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council, need to reflect what it proudly stated during its inaugural membership. Australia needs to fulfill the commitment our Foreign Minister Marise Payne made at the United Nations General Assembly on 28 September 2018 when she advocated for stronger human rights across the globe. It is not okay to simply rebuke stories of torture and beating of young Kashmiri boys and large-scale arrests published in the international press, and it is by no means reflection of a normal situation when thousands are under custody, including 3 former chief ministers. And when people outside Kashmir have no clue about the fate of their loved ones, one of the approach Australia could adopt and other countries is helping India to understand that its rhetoric and stories about Kashmir, that everything is normal, lack any fact or objectivity. Particularly when there is no access to the media and the world cannot keep its eyes and ears closed for that long. As a good friend of both India and Pakistan, Australia needs to tell India that such actions will affect its international reputation and damage its economy and will cause major hindrance in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in the region. My fellow Australians, whether you were born in Australia, India, Pakistan, wherever you come from, you must take stand for the humanity. Your message must be loud and clear that Kashmir doesn't belong to India or Pakistan. It belongs to Kashmiris only. It belongs to the Kashmiris only, whether they are Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, or Christians. It is time the sand forces prevail and accept this reality that any war or occupation is not a solution. You must tell the Australian government and the world. Write to your members of the parliament, to newspaper editors, and to civil society that Kashmiris must be given the right of self-determination. So they can decide whether they want to join India, Pakistan, or would like to have an independent country as per the United Nations resolutions. And help in completing the task a distinguished Australian, Sir Owen Dixon, initiated in 1950. This will help India and Pakistan to live in peace and harmony, and the whole region will be able to focus on the core issues of poverty, hunger, and malnutrition, and other basic human needs millions are facing, rather than wasting billions on the defense spending. Thank you very much.